What's good, people? Agent Juice reporting for duty. Today's video is one I'm particularly excited about because, it's about a subject near and dear to my heart, and that is my love of the Mary Sue. The speed paint for today's video is going to be of my very first Mary Sue that I ever remember making. All the way back in, I want to say, 5th grade. So I was 9 years old when I first made this character. Before we go into any details, I want to do 2 housekeeping things. First off, a technical issue about this video you're about to see. There's going to be a part where you'll notice I do gesture work, and then all of a sudden I have a bunch of layers of rough lines, and you don't see me drawing those, and the reason why is because that recording got corrupted, and I am a very sad panda about that. But the rest of it, after those rough lines go down, should go smoothly. The second thing is that I do want to make a clarification about my term of the Mary Sue for the sake of this video. In this case, I'm going to be using Mary Sue more on power fantasy element as opposed to the character who is unchallenged in their story. The academic definition of the Mary Sue is more accurately a character who is unusually unchallenged in their story, to the point where characters around them and their situations seem to kind of bow to them so that they do not grow, they do not struggle. Everything is always hunky-dory, and it makes her a very boring character. However, the layman's definition of Mary Sue that you hear slung around a lot is a character who is overly powerful, hence the power fantasy / wish fulfillment. So I'm going to lean more towards on that, because I believe that that aspect of the Mary Sue, the wish fulfillment, can actually be good. And I will get into detail because there's a lot of caveats to that. So, why do I love the Mary Sue? I love the Mary Sue because it is catharsis and creativity in its rawest form. It is the unbridled creativity of your id. It is the gesture lines, if you will, of the drawing, the skeleton, the raw emotional content. A Mary Sue can embody everything that you want to be, everything you wish to become, the way you want the world to see you ideally. Your wish fulfillment, your Mary Sue, can be either regal, immeasurably powerful, unusually charismatic, unusually beautiful, attractive, all of these things that you desire as a person wanting to accomplish something in your life. A lot of the times, a Mary Sue can be a character that you imagine yourself as, whether you're facing a problem that you can't overcome, or you have a desire that you wish to fulfill. You can think of yourself, man, if I was only my OC Donut Steel right in this moment, I would totally solve this problem. I would totally beat up this bully. I would totally have all the boys and girls loving me. And I believe that the genesis, the core of that, is actually quite valuable. So, before we get into that, though, I would like to introduce you lot to my Mary Sue. This character is named Blader. Yes, like rollerblader. I'll get into that name in a second. Blader is a half cyborg, half anthropomorphic liger. Yes, a liger, as in both a lion and a tiger, who is the leader of a 5-man team of other anthropomorphic cyborg animals. And their team is called the Astro Animals. All right. Keep in mind, I made all this shit up when I was 9 years old. So you got to cut me some slack on this. All right. Okay, so the Astro Animals is this team of spacefaring superheroes who defend the universe from cosmic level threats. And of course, like each Astro Animal, of course, is like Dragon Ball Z level super strong. You know, the kind of shit where you blow up a galaxy with a wet fart, right? And in addition to this, each of the team members of the Astro Animals, they have control over like an elemental power, which is earth, wind, water, fire, and lightning. And Blader, the leader, had access to lightning, right? Lightning is his power. Going into kind of the design of Blader, the name Blader came because it was basically the most badass word I could think to name a character. The movie Blade, right, with Wesley Snipes, came out in 1998. And when I first heard of Blade, I thought it was like the coolest shit ever. I was like, there's a dude who's half vampire, which means he can walk in daylight, so he's immune to like vampire weaknesses. And he has a cool sword, he has cool sunglasses, he has like a Neo Matrix trench coat. And if you've seen some of my previous videos, you know how much I love the Matrix. And his name is Blade, like a sword, right? A blade is a cool thing. And I'm just like, oh, that is so badass. So originally I wanted to name the character something cool like Razor or Blade. And I was just like, what if what if I did the dodgeball thing, right? The movie Dodgeball with Vince Vaughn and what is it? Ben Stiller, where like Ben Stiller's character is going down his team of the Purple Cobras, and he's saying like, this is Blade, this is Laser, this is Blazer. It's basically like that, right? That's basically how I came up with this character's name. Oh, man. So anyway, because his name is Blader, I was thinking like, well, he has to like fight with blades, obviously. So, in addition to, of course, dual-wielding giant swords, because that is default awesome, I wanted to give him, you'll notice on his back, he has like these, these fucking Doc Ock chainsaw arms, right? And the way I came up with that design is there's this anime called Ronin Warriors. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. I don't remember much of it, but the idea is it's like these group of like teenagers or something. They have like samurai powers. It's actually really you know what? The whole Astro Animals thing is kind of similar to Ronin Warriors, because it's these normal kids who transform into these like samurai super warriors, and each one has like a control over an element. Anyway, the back blades are actually not based off of one of the heroes, but one of the villains. Because as with all anime, of course, you have the last final boss big bad guy, but before him you have like his lackeys, his generals. And one of the generals is named Diaz or Dios or something. He is the warlord of illusion. And his weapon is like this spider blade thing that he would wear it on his back. And it had basically these stalks or like these extendo thingies with blades at the end of them. And the silhouette that he cut, right, that shape of the silhouette with those things flaring out of his back looked so cool. I was like, I got to put that on Blader. So I did. Then I was like, you know, this is my 9-year-old wish fulfillment kicking in, right? My power fantasy going like, well, I don't want just blades. I want it to be awesome. So I made him chainsaws. So he has chainsaws on his back because he's a badass. And his name is Blader. So he's going to live up to it somehow. I'm going to make sure that he does. The other design, I mean, obviously you see he has 2 swords. He also has 2 tails, right? Like Tails from Sonic, right? I did that because it was cool, obviously, but also it was symmetrical. And I have this thing about symmetry. I love symmetry. 2 swords, 2 tails. In fact, you'll notice in this speed paint, I am using the symmetry ruler because, well, first of all, it cuts down on work. You know, it's a time saver. And second of all, it falls into the spirit of this character, symmetrical. Anyway, there's this thing I like to dub cool triggers, right? You guys are familiar with triggers, right? Something that triggers you and it awakens bad emotions. Well, a cool trigger, it's something that you see in maybe a character in a TV show or some kind of thing, maybe a design, maybe it's like something you see on a car, that as soon as it has that thing, it is automatically cool. Whenever I saw a character and they had certain aspects to them, they would immediately be cool. This includes dual wielding, pointy shoulder pads. Like, what I mean by that is in Dragon Ball Z, you know, the Saiyan armor, how it juts, those shoulder pads kind of jut out in that point. And it again, it's like this, it cuts a really nice silhouette. I love that. I love that design. Not so much nowadays. I don't really care for it. I could have it either way, but Blader has those jutting, shoulder pad things. Another cool trigger. This one is not really an appearance thing. It's more of a thing you do, which is the flip kick, or in Street Fighter, Guile's flash kick. Like you backflip and you do that kick. That's actually the reason why I love Fox McCloud in the Smash Brothers series, is because he can flip kick. And then another one, of course, is lightning powers. Lightning powers is another cool trigger. Hence, Blader's lightning powers. So symmetry, going back into it, symmetry is one of my cool triggers. And of course, symmetry kind of goes into a lot of my other cool triggers, like the dual wielding. Ambidexterity is another cool trigger. So of course, Blader is perfectly ambidextrous. And because ambidexterity is useful. I mean, come on. Obviously, if you're going to have a character, you don't just make them right or left-handed. You make them ambidextrous because it's better, objectively. So yes, that's the explanation of Blader's design. As far as making him a Liger, I made him a Liger because he was the leader of the Astro Animals. So I decided, well, he needs to be an animal that is like the king. And of course, we think lions are king of the jungle, right? So I was thinking, yeah, a lion. However, as a kid, I was really, really, really into Calvin and Hobbes. In fact, to this day, I say that Calvin and Hobbes is the greatest newspaper comic to ever have been made. Don't at me. So Calvin and Hobbes, Hobbes is a tiger. So I love tigers too. So it's just like, well, I wanted to be a tiger because I really love tigers because of Calvin and Hobbes, but lions are king of the jungle. So instead of compromising, I decided to do what a wish fulfillment 9-year-old would do. And I was just like, why not both? ¿Por qué no los dos? Right? Why not both? So he's a Liger. All right? Best of both worlds. So the origin of the Astro Animals, I do have to come clean how I came up with it, is it wasn't entirely all me. It was actually me and my group of friends in 5th grade at the time. Basically, we all came together as kids do at recess and they're like, oh, let's play a really cool game. And we were thinking like, oh, how cool would it be if we were like superheroes, like Power Rangers or something, where we're just normal kids, but like when evil is afoot, we transform into these awesome things. And so we all came up with these characters and, we were the Astro Animals, right? These, my other friends, therefore, made their own Astro Animals. One of the ones I remember is from one of my friends. We're not friends now. We drifted apart a long time ago. I mean, we're still on speaking terms. It's not like we hate each other or anything. But anyway, we'll call him Arthur. Arthur's Astro Animal was not an aardvark, okay? So get that out of your head. Arthur's Astro Animal was a cheetah with fire powers, and his name was Inferno. And believe me, all of us were just like, oh, damn, that is such a cool name. It's like, as much as I wanted Blader to be a cool name, Inferno he had the coolest name, okay? Inferno was the coolest name in that group, and we all secretly acknowledged it, even though we thought we had the coolest character. I had the coolest character, okay? I put the most design work in mine. I actually drew mine as a kid. One of these days, I'll see if I can dig up the drawing. Anyway. He was a cheetah with fire powers, and he had like these 2 Tongfa blades, kind of like Talim has in the Soul Calibur series, and that was like his weapon. So anyway, that's what we did. We played this game, and we lived it, as kids do, right? We lived this game. We were the Astro Animals. When we would go to class, it's just like, yeah, we're just the normal kids, but when evil comes, then we will transform like the Power Rangers and become the Astro Animals and defeat evil. And that is a big part of why I advocate, really kind of loving your Mary Sue, your OC, your Donut Steel. Blader was the rawest form of my creativity, this unrefined, untempered inner being of everything I wanted to be. Blader is regal, he's of course insanely powerful, right? He's the leader of this powerful team. He's basically like my Optimus Prime, right? This paragon that I wanted in life. And so that's why he made such an impact on me. And that's like, to this day, I don't really think about him anymore. Like, I actually had to really dig in my mind when making this video about my first OC. But now that everything is kind of coming up, it's all coming back to me, all of these raw emotions that he brought out. Again, that's why I advocate for them. That being said, obviously, a Mary Sue in its raw form can't really work in a story because by dint of being wish fulfillment and perfect, they don't have any room to grow and therefore don't really make interesting characters to watch on screen or to read in a story. That being said, I still do love them because they make excellent jumping off points. You know, in fact, all of you out there watching this video right now, I want you to dig up all of your cringiest, weirdest Mary Sues and really look through them. Examine them in a fine-tooth comb. Find out why you made them. Do you have cool triggers? You know, do you have like little things in the character that you put in your Mary Sue that you put there because it was cool? You know, you see these litmus tests for Mary Sues, and one of the points that dock you is, did you make this decision solely for the purpose that you thought it was cool? It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Come on. I mean, that's why you like the character. You made them cool. I mean, obviously, if you lean too much into it, again, an unrefined Mary Sue is a bad character. But I urge you to comb through that. What power fantasies did you imagine? What was on your mind at the time when you were thinking, oh, if I was only my really cool donut steel, I would totally have, beat up that bully? Was there a bully in your life? Maybe you went through some hard things like a parent's divorce, or maybe even more serious like abuse. You know, and then in your moments of escapism, you'd imagine yourself as this powerful Mary Sue who could easily handle this problem. I want you to really think about that. I encourage you to do so, because what you are doing is you are finding the emotional contents of that character. And the emotional contents in a character is why we latch on to some of these greatly made characters. So I encourage you basically to embrace the suck, embrace that cringe, and really analyze it. What is that raw emotion? What is that id? Now, once you have analyzed it, then you refine it, okay? This is what makes or break a Mary Sue. Or should I say, this is what makes a good character versus a Mary Sue. Because a Mary Sue is simply nothing more than this unbridled concept left as that. Just an unbridled concept versus something that is honed and refined. You know, it is only your gesture lines. Nobody cares about the gesture lines. You know, they want to see the final product. So, as an example, let's go ahead and take Blader. Let's see if I can turn him from a Gary Stu into a solid character. First part of Blader, he is a power fantasy. I made him immensely powerful. He can destroy planets and stars and solar systems. He's, multi-level, faster than light. He has like absolute perfect, reflexes, like the Force on steroids, all that good stuff. He's powerful. What is that? It's catharsis. It's the release of tension. It's that good feeling you get when you finally beat up that bully and you triumph. And the reason why it's so powerful of a feeling to get that is because at the time it would feel good for me to imagine that release, because I was struggling. Not Blader. Blader would not struggle. He's a power fantasy. I was struggling. I was being challenged. I was being harmed. So, okay, what do? Well, you make Blader struggle, okay? You make him have to work up to... if we're taking the lore of the Astro Animals, Blader is just a kid who got cool superpowers. So, Kid Juice, me, little Juice, is a kid who's struggling, and he has to learn how to use these powers. The best example to date that I can think of a character with great catharsis is Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is a character who struggled throughout the entire series. It was so immense and it was so crushing, but it felt so good when he finally rose to the occasion. Now, a lot of people will usually point to the final Agni Kai between him and Azula as like his final culmination, which it is. It's kind of like the final point where he gets to release his catharsis. He gets to he effectively wins that duel because Azula had to resort to dirty tactics in order to beat him. But I actually believe that his ultimate point of catharsis is during the solar eclipse episode where he faces off with Ozai. And, they kind of talk down with each other, but as soon as the eclipse goes away, Ozai quick draws his lightning, but Zuko just turns that shit around, and then there's that briefest of moments where Ozai's eyes go wide and he's like, oh, damn it. My ass is grass. But Zuko doesn't zap him back. He just fires it to the side and he says this is not my place to do this. He had his dad's ass in that moment, and his dad knew. That's all he needed. That was perfect catharsis. Because he's been slapped around. You can tell he really hates his dad for all the shit he put him through. And in that moment, he had him. He basically looked at Ozai and said, I am your god. I had your life in my hand, and only by my will and my mercy did you get out of this unscathed. Always remember that. Catharsis. All right, next point in Blader. He is a leader, a respected leader, right? He's accomplished. He is admired, right? So how do we find that? How do we refine that, I should say? Well, the hero's journey. That's what that is. If you think about it, a character has to earn that position. Let's take Luke Skywalker, right? Probably the ultimate example in the modern day of the hero's journey. Started out as a farm boy, learned the ways of the Force, and became a hero. And of course, now he is a Jedi Master. But he had to go through that growth. So you can say, okay, Blader is like the leader, but now he has to go through the struggle of how to lead, you know, making tough decisions, realizing that he is going to lose and people will suffer the consequences because of the choices that he made as a leader. So it's like, okay, you earn that respect because you have to go through those trials and tribulations until you learn how to do it well. Because everyone's there and clapping and cheering for you when it's all good. But when it goes all bad, they ain't clapping and cheering there. You know, people don't see the struggle that it took to get to that point. So yes, in conclusion, Mary Sue's, your wish fulfillment characters, your OCs, your donut steals, it's okay. Embrace it. Embrace the suck. As long as you learn from it. As long as you use it as a starting point. As long as you put in the work to really think about how does this character work in a story or a setting. Really, what separates the Mary Sues, these bad characters who we go, oh, that's just a Mary Sue, from the memorable characters, the greats. What separates them? Refinement. That's really it. It's just the context of their story. It's okay to be super powerful as long as there's an explanation. It's okay to be well-liked as long as it makes sense. It's all okay as long as there is something there to grow the character, because a story is about change. A story is point A and point B, and a character should be different between those 2 points. Otherwise, what's the point? Why are we watching this? Just some food for thought. All right. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. As usual, you guys know to go ahead and like and subscribe if you like listening to me talk about things. Hit the bell, the notifications, all of that good stuff so that you know when all of my new videos are coming out. Once again, I'll provide all of the usual links I do. Link to the intro video with the Teespring shop. Go ahead and help yourself to something nice. You can actually stalk me on all of my social media on the little clicky buttons at the top. I think they put them in that little bar, and of course the Teespring shop is there. All right, enough shilling. You guys take care. I hope you stick around, and until next time, deuces.